All right, I got quite a lot prepared for you. This is part two of our three-part series that I've launched this final quarter of 2025, and this is my favorite thing to talk about. So I'm very excited about today's session. If you've ever seen me present at a conference, you're going to recognize some of what I'm going to say today. It's kind of part of my signature spiel, if you will. Oh, great, seeing more people introduce themselves. All right. Well, welcome everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started with our November call. And I'm just going to keep an eye on the participants in case anybody else joins. I am doing this solo today. I'm going to be multitasking the whole time. Hopefully that doesn't distract me too much from my messaging. And I think we'll be just fine though. All right. And we will, let me go ahead and get my screen there. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. One woman show sometimes, one woman show. All right. So again, if you haven't already, go ahead and introduce yourself, where you're from, why you're here. And then I thought it would be fun if you guys could just share, your favorite kitchen gadget or appliance. I thought that would be a nice one as I just clicked out of slideshow mode here. Okay, there we go. Now we're back. No, it's not. It's still not back to slideshow. All right, guys. As I'm juggling all of the screens, you are in the right place. I want to see some of your favorite stuff here. Let me read this chat real quick. Oven, I love it, Alice. Mine would be the stove. I gotta say, I'm with you. Tried and true. Mortar and pestle, very nice. Oh, a microplane. Food processor with attachments. You can do a lot with that. Heck yeah. Knives. Yes, that is also maybe that might even beat stove. I got you, Travis. Knives. All right. Thank you for sharing, Caitlin. Caitlin's here because it's her dream to open up a culinary medicine private practice in the near future. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. And you love an Instapot. KitchenAid mixer. Zester, KitchenAid. Ooh, we got another vote for KitchenAid. They do have lots of fancy attachments. I actually have a KitchenAid and I probably use it once a year, if that. I just end up doing things manually. I really do. But I actually typically I whip it out if I'm making a larger amount of cookies or pies. That's often what I'll do it for. But other than that, I guess I only do that once a year, I suppose. So, oh, all right. The mixer's made in the town you live. That's cool. Oh, what a claim to fame. All right. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome. You are in the right place, regardless of your reason why. Everybody is coming from different perspectives here and is looking for different things. But this is designed to help anybody working in or around culinary medicine. So if you just want to learn more, it's a good place to start. If you're trying to figure out where that starting point is and feeling like there's a million things to do, there are, but we can help you pick a starting point as well. Maybe you're already started and you just want to enhance or expand your practice. So that works too. We'll talk about some things for that. Maybe you've had a program just kind of land in your lap and you're looking for some resources, some support, some ideas even of what to do with that or what direction you want to go, really getting in touch with that alignment. Maybe you just want more confidence, self-efficacy in yourself as a facilitator of these types of practices and programs. Maybe you just want to integrate this into your private practice. You don't have an organization behind you. And maybe you just want to hang out. And if so, I also appreciate you being here. All right. There we go. So my participant chat screen goes away when I click the slide forward. So just like I said, bear with me. I'll kind of let folks in waves if you accidentally get kicked out. So I'm going to breeze through this part. And very soon this bit's going to be going away because I do feel like people know who I am. Now, though, we do get some new folks on the call from time to time. But my name is Melanya. I've been practicing culinary medicine for about 12 years. I include a little bit more. I'll share more about that later. But my kind of signature accomplishment to date is leading the creation of the world's largest teaching kitchen program at a single integrated healthcare system in the world. And within that program, I had the opportunity to serve 200,000 participants annually. I've helped over 200 different programs get started, both in that capacity and since, and served over 40,000 clients personally in teaching kitchens throughout my career. So, in addition to that, I've also helped support over 500 other dietitians either start or enhance their culinary medicine practice. And that is just a rough figure. It is hard for me to get a true tally on that since I do a lot of public speaking and this type of kind of mentorship work. So I'm sure there's folks out there that I don't even know about, but hopefully I have helped them in some way. I like to think. Anyhow. I am here to share insights, empowerment, and perspective, and largely so you can align with your strengths and overcome whatever is standing in your way to integrating culinary medicine into your practice. And again, this applies to whether you're just one person with a private practice or you're one person within an entire organization. It is feasible in both applications and every application in between. Um, if you're really interested in digging deep, I'm very excited to share that I'm starting a culinary medicine mastermind. It's kicking off in January, but enrollment is going to open next month, December 2025. If you are interested, I would really encourage you to get on the hype list for it. That's kind of what I'm calling it. Just the first interest list. There's no commitment. You're just registering your interest. And I will be sending you kind of first dibs on the program as well as an additional bonus. So if you are even remotely interested, I would suggest signing up for that list just so you can get first access to it. And if you're still on the fence or you're not ready to make a decision, like I said, it's not a commitment yet anyway, but I do offer open Q&A calls now once a month. I was doing them the first Tuesday and then I realized that's not working well for me. So they're just going to be floating and I'll announce them each call. So the next one's going to be on December 11th at 3 p.m. Eastern. So if you are here today, which means you've registered for this webinar series, you will be on the email list and you will receive a link to those. So don't worry, you don't have to take any action to join those, except put it in your calendar so you don't forget. That would be it. All right. So I said I've been doing this for about 12 years. In reality, I feel like I've been doing this my whole life. So I've always enjoyed cooking. It was a passion of mine. And when I went to school for nutrition, it just to me didn't make sense that cooking was getting left out of it. I thought that was a little odd, to be honest with you. And I did have a class. I did have one class in and around cooking, and like the science behind it. And that favorite class, hands down, I'm going to give a shout out to Dr. Bird if she ever listens to these replays. Um, changed my life. But after that point, it just didn't show up again. And that was just so odd. It really didn't make sense because when we talk about food, we're talking to other human beings, we're talking to people, and food is how we interact with nutrition. Um, we can't just talk numbers and molecules and things like that, combinations of such, right? Like we don't go shopping for vitamin K and complex carbohydrates. We go shopping for kale and potatoes and beans, food. So it always just made sense to me that food and nutrition go hand in hand. So after I completed my dietetics program, became a dietitian, I pursued the culinary arts so I could deliver this with my education, and I started my first teaching kitchen program from there. And it just kind of spiraled. Like I said, it felt very natural and like the thing to do. And then I met a bunch of other wonderful people in this field doing similar things because it was still relatively new and it just blossomed. So I'm excited to be part of this community and delighted that you are also part of this community. I'm able to share this time and these insights with you guys. So again, why am I here? Truly, it is my dream to see interactive nutrition education become the standard, like the standard of care. And I also want it to be accessible because it's the standard. So accessible in every practice in primary healthcare facility. I already think dietitians should be in every primary care facility, but I want to go a step further and just say this needs to be a part of it too. And I want to see this scale globally. I am from the United States and I also live in Canada, and I'm a dietitian in both countries, but it doesn't have to stop with North America. We can go further. This is already happening in other parts of the world. We have Alice here today, I know for a fact. She's on the other side of the world. um, Doing these things too. So why not get all of us together so we can learn and share and collaborate and really move this forward? All right. So I have another question for you. And you can keep it to yourself or answer in the chat. I always love it when you guys answer in the chat so I can see what you're saying. First of all, it's my way of kind of communicating because I don't hear you or see you, right? So with that chat, I get some feedback on what we're doing, and it's nice for other people to see too, right? So we can, excuse me, work on things. Oh, I see a question here. Which integrated healthcare system was your teaching kitchen program born? I worked for the Department of Veterans Affairs. Yeah, that's where it was. So the US public healthcare system is the public healthcare system in the States. Most of it's privatized, but the VA is not. All right. So yeah, how does culinary medicine help people change? And there's no wrong answers. I mean, I'm sure there is, but there's not going to be. How does it help people change? What do you see? Why do you think it helps people change? What's that magical ingredient? Because that's what we're going to talk about today. Culinary medicine is many, many things, and it is more than just an ingredient. However, I find there is a certain something special that makes it pretty distinct from other forms of nutrition education. I'm going to give you guys just a minute. Okay, Amy says it gives patients the confidence to cook for themselves. Absolutely. Confident. Ooh, another confidence. Connection to food, people, culture, confidence, and cooking skills. Very good. Gives folks the opportunity to try before they buy. I like that. Yes, test the waters. Try things out. Yep, before ultimate commitment. We're afraid of that for some reason. And we forget that we can change our mind at any time. Opens up their mind with their taste buds. Oh, I like that. Accessibility to take charge of their health. Yes. Yes. Helps bridge the gap between nutrition and food. They learn how to apply the nutrition education. Yep, 100%. Oh, I love this. See, what I'm really doing is getting you guys to write my spiel for me. No, I'm just kidding. This is great. Specific. How to prepare cook foods for improved diet. Yeah, very good. We can take it further, not just broad concepts, but really helping people with those details that are specific to them. Correct. Confidence again to build new habits that can change their life and health. Yes, it's hands-on. Yes, it is, Lauren. People learn so much better and build confidence when they can actually create the meal and it tastes good too. I love it. You're so right, and it brings people together. I love that last little bit there. You're exactly right. Food, as I like to say this, food is the one thing we all have in common. We all eat. I mean, I'm sure there's more than one thing, right? We also sleep. We do all the things, but it's also something we do together, right? It's a communal function of being human. And there is a certain kind of magic in that. And we can harness some of that in our culinary medicine practice as well. And that's part of what we're going to talk about today. Get people to try new foods and see that healthy can taste good. Yep. Get to learn the why and practice the how. I love it. You guys are wonderful. You just make my day. I just need you to know that. You make my day. All right. All right answers. I didn't think anybody would have a wrong answer, but you guys are great. Totally on the right track. So we're gonna go into the nitty-gritty on that. So you already have a sense of things. But sometimes it's nice to hear things validated, right? And get some more perspective as to why these things work. I'm not going to share the whole spiel that I do with conferences. This is just kind of an abridged version. But one of my favorite things to talk about is the behavior change theories behind this type of nutrition intervention. Absolute favorite thing, because that's what it is, right? That's ultimately what we're doing is we're changing people's behaviors around food and how they make their food choices. We're giving them knowledge so they have the power to make informed decisions, but we're also helping them apply this in their own world, right? In their own set of life excuse me, and situation. And that's a lot of what we've talked about up to this point, right? Is getting to know your audience, putting yourself in their shoes, trying to check your own bias and think of what they need and what they want, what's relevant to them. All of that culminates here because it's more than just sharing skills and knowledge, right? And you guys hit that nail right on the head. We need to do something else to get that education to stick, right? Knowing something does not mean doing it per se. I I know how to change my oil on my car, but I'm probably not going to do it. Right? And that's just one little example. And we're kind of in this information age, I would say, especially. We pick up so many little skill sets just from the media we consume, but how many of those skills are we actually putting into practice? I like to kind of use the example too of cooking shows. How many people watch all kinds of cooking shows, right? The Great British Bake Off, Hell's Kitchen, all the chopped, all the things, right? Does that mean they can do those things? I don't think so. I mean, they could if they applied themselves, but they aren't. They aren't out there doing that. Why not? What's that missing piece? Right? So that's kind of what we're going to go into today. And it is the essence of culinary medicine, bridging that gap between the knowing and the doing. So our learning objectives today, we're going to describe how knowledge does not equal behavior change, knowledge alone. We're going to talk about creating an environment that's conducive to learning, not just from an educational standpoint, but a reducing barriers and self-limiting beliefs to a degree. Because what we don't want to do is make people feel self-conscious about what they're coming with, right? We have folks with all different backgrounds, skill levels, experience with food. And as adults, there's a lot of fear when you try new things. We are conditioned to be fearful of failure, especially in front of other people, right? So these folks in your class are trying something new for the first time, maybe, which is very brave, and they're doing it in front of others, which is extra brave. So there's a certain amount of getting them over that hump. And I'll even have classes to date where there's kind of varying degrees of willingness. I don't know, that's not the right word. Varying degrees of forwardness of interaction. Like some people I gotta coax out of their shell a little bit. You know what I mean? Because they come and they're like, oh, I'll just watch. Or they come with a partner or spouse and they let their partner spouse try to do everything. Um, they're a little hesitant. That's a better word. Hesitant. Um, And it's just kind of a mental block, right? It is scary to try new things, especially doing them for the first time in front of other people. And that's a big part of we do as facilitators, not educators. We are educating, but we're also facilitating an experience. So people feel comfortable and supported doing this new thing and learning these new skills. We're also going to talk about the key drivers of behavior change. This is a little bit more of the sciencey bit. And then we're going to talk about incorporating multisensory teaching strategies. So this really just means going beyond tastes, like taste buds, using and engaging all of the senses, what we see, what we smell, what we hear, also what we feel. This one's not talked about as much, but the emotional component is also important, right? And that dictates a lot of what we choose to eat for everybody, right? I'm going to choose different things depending on my emotional state. Pretty much everybody does because food is tied to our emotions since it's a pleasure stimulus. Um, we can't really undo that, right? It's just part of it, part physical, part emotional. So we also want to harness that within the experience as well. And then, of course, we want to make it memorable. That's really the end game here, right? If we make this experience memorable, what they learn here, what they do here, the confidence they build here will stick with them and will resurface in their behaviors at home. And we can do that with both context and confidence. So everyone who said confidence, you were right on the money there. Everybody was on the money, but like I'm gonna do a little spiel on that. So okay, let's dive into it. Okay. So first up, knowledge alone does not equal behavior change. I think most of us know this kind of inherently, but I'm just kind of stating the obvious there. And if you do have a health education, public health, health promotion background, you're probably very familiar with this anyway, or already. So part of it's knowledge, part of it's skills, but really what we're after is changing people's behaviors around the food. Just because we know it doesn't mean we're going to be able to put it into practice. There's going to be barriers that our audience faces that we don't know, and they might not even know out of context, right? Which is some of the gold of the culinary medicine is we get them in their own kitchen or a kitchen at least, even if it's not theirs. And the more we can create the context of their real life scenario cooking, the more things will come up that they'll think to address or think to share, right? Things that don't just come up in an office setting, just because we're not in the right context, right? Just like you're going to do different things at work than you do at home because you remember to do them at work because work reminds you of those things, or when you're at a friend's house, right? Or if you're in your car, context is just part of it. It's part of how our brains organize information and recall information. So if we can get as close to possible to that context, that will help. Which is why I love in-person classes so much, but I also love the telehealth classes because you're literally in their kitchen with them virtually, and you can see everything. You can ask them to show and tell things, and you can really help them work through with some of their very specific barriers. Maybe they're intimidated of holding a chef's knife. That's a very common one I see, especially with women who have smaller hands. They're intimidated. They have one, but they always use the small one, which is the paring knife usually. And that might not be something they even volunteer to you, or we even get to see or know about unless we're in a kitchen setting starting to cook together, or even their home setting, right? Maybe if you're even in a live class, they select their own knife and they don't go for the big one and it's never questioned kind of thing, right? So just as an example, there's lots of things that come out that we can talk, and all those barriers are much more visible for us to address and help them overcome. And the more we can get to in a class, the more, I should say, the less resistance they're going to have to doing that at home. The goal is to reduce all the barriers, or at least as many as you can get to, because they're that much more likely to do it. So also think about what impacts people's behaviors in general. Of course, in and around food, but we have our environment, right? The social determinants of health, but also the people in your environment, right? Your emotional environment, your own house. Like what's going on in there? Is your kitchen small and cramped? Is there stuff on the counters all the time? That's a barrier, right? If you have to clean first before cooking, that is now two big tasks, not just one. And a lot of people aren't going to, they're just going to order takeout. So it's worth talking about. And this is really good content too for bringing up in the class. Like ask people what gets in their way. Ask them, like if they were to do this right now, what would they have to do first? Things like that. Also just access to food in general, right? The grocery prices are kind of going up, at least in North America, but probably all over the world. And that presents new challenges for people. They have to change the foods they're familiar cooking with and eating. Um, do more with less, that kind of thing. Maybe they have certain beliefs around food, right? A lot of folks at this point, actually, pretty much everybody that's not retired, has lived and grown up with diet culture. So there's a lot of deeply ingrained beliefs in and around their own bodies and food and interactions with food that they may not have brought up or ever challenged before too, that now come out. Emotions, past experiences, right? Maybe they tried to cook once and burned it, so now they think they can't cook, you know? That haunts a lot of people. So talking through those things is one way to get through it, but also that's another piece of the magic, right? We can do this with them. Now they have a new successful experience to replace that unsuccessful one. And they see that they can do it, right? That's the confidence. And confidence is the key to that self-efficacy. Yeah. There's also other people, right? What if they live with a spouse who kind of puts them down all the time, or not, maybe not even intentionally, but just says a derogatory comment or two about their cooking. It doesn't take much for someone to button up and not try it again, right? We're very sensitive to people's feedback, especially if it's people we look up to or care about. Um, so we want to think of, I know this is a lot to think of, right? But we want to try to think of all of this when we're creating this experience for people, because that's ultimately what we're doing. It is a class, it is an intervention, it is a form of education, but truly is an experience. And that's how I want you to think of approaching it, because that's where you're going to get these magical components. We want to address, sorry for the typo, what influences food choices and behavior in the population that we're serving. So really think about them. And I would even invite them to share if you want to do a focus group, or like I like to host these Q&As. That actually helps me know what you guys are interested in, so I can continue to tailor these calls to relevant content. I know what I know, and I know what I think you should know, right? But it needs to align with what's important to you right now, or you're not going to show up. So that is something I do even here, right? To get the feedback I need to understand where you're at. And you can do that with your audience as well, your population. Um, and someone else already said it in the chat, so I'm going to kind of glaze over this one. But what we're doing is not only teaching the what, but the how to do it too. All right. So the next piece of this, right, we're creating an experience, and that really does start with the environment. There's a lot of elements at play, but set the stage a little, right? Create the environment that is conducive to learning, not just on a kind of checkbox level, like we talked about last time, right, with lighting and camera angle and eye contact and stuff like that. But it's also, think of like little things, maybe comfort items, maybe having, addressing the entire class at the beginning to remind them that this is a safe space to share, that this is an environment of curiosity and exploration. There's no criticism, no judgment. We're all here coming from different places to learn, right? And to share our experiences. I always like to do a little reminder like that at the beginning of a class, because these are sometimes just a bunch of strangers. Sometimes they're not, sometimes they know each other, right? Um, but strangers or no, it is still hard to do a new thing in front of other people. We feel very self-conscious. So I'm trying to reduce some of that feeling. And this is where I find if you can let yourself relax a little too and show some of your personality, right? Even when you make mistakes, just roll with it, laugh it off. That is a wonderful, wonderful tool for also reducing that feeling of maybe I'm being judged, right? Because they view you as the expert, right? They're here to learn from you. And they might even feel self-conscious doing it in front of you, right? They kind of feel put on the spot a little bit. So just be mindful of that moving forward and offer multiple reassurances throughout the class even, right? In different ways, that it is a safe space for them to try things, and there's no such thing as failure. They're just learning new information. That's it. They're learning what works and what doesn't work for them. So we really want to support that change. And really what we're doing with this environment of exploration and this confidence building, knowledge sharing included, is we are cultivating self-efficacy. That is the goal, right? We want these folks to take this information, feel confident in applying it, and then have the space and access to do so pretty easily without too much burden in their own home environments. When they do that, they're going to keep doing it. Yeah. And if you can set up some sort of ongoing thing, or even, I don't know, a support group, or just kind of keep in contact, it's nice to circle back, because something will work for a while. And then I call it the stress test, right? Something happens in life and kind of rocks them a little bit. And you just want to be there to remind them of all the things they can do and kind of be a grounding force there. Um, Another way to create this kind of space, and that's kind of what I'm getting at with this entire slide, is just be very open, right? I know we're professionals and there's a certain boundary to maintain, but we can still maintain that and share experiences, right? We don't have to share details if we don't want to of who, what, where, when, well, who, right? No personal information, but we can still share experiences from other clients that have no name, unknowns, right? Or even just our own, right? They really do like that. Again, it humanizes us and kind of takes us off the pedestal in a good way. So they're more comfortable trying things when we're around, because that's really what we want them to do. And that way we can be there to guide them and to remind them of the things they need reminding of. So I like to invite that type of open conversation. I'm big on asking questions. If you guys didn't get that already, that's my gold. You got to ask the right questions, right? And then they'll open it right up to you. People do want to share, and they have a lot of insecurities and questions and confusion around food. Like, I know most of us here are nutrition professionals. Just imagine if you weren't. There's so much information and misinformation out there. It's it's hard to keep up with, even for us, in a sense. But if you didn't have this background, it would be very bewildering. And even though you are maybe doing something that kind of works, there is a little part of you that's always wondering if something's wrong or you're doing the wrong thing, right? So we also have some insecurities we're dealing with in the people that show up. So invite those conversations, have them ask those questions of, well, I saw this on TikTok and I don't know if it was legit or not, but I tried it, stuff like that. Invite them to share. They will love it, and they will love the validation or the gentle steering in the other direction. They are open to it. And as you, as the facilitator and the nutrition expert, you can be there to guide them. It's a wonderful opportunity. Last point here is the language you use in a class. And this one I think just takes some time and maybe some, if you're unaware of how you speak or haven't taken any kind of inclusive language type courses, um, maybe do like a little trial run of your spiel, or at least a portion of your spiel, with a friend or a colleague or something, and just ask them to gauge how you made them feel as you were talking to them. That's kind of what we're getting at here. And I don't think anybody here does it on purpose by any means, but sometimes we talk in a way that maybe it's a level above the person we're talking to, in a sense that we've misgauged where they're at and we're going too far too fast. But sometimes we accidentally make things sound a little blaney, or or we're surprised if someone doesn't know something, right? It's really the game face here a little bit, but again, be very open and try to speak in a non-judgmental way as much as you can. And if someone does surprise you, just ask them questions, ask them to share, show your own interest and curiosity, and that will help. So not only are we encouraging them to approach this from curiosity, not criticism, we want to remind ourselves of that too. We are also being curious about that, not critical. I don't think a lot of this is a high risk area by any means, especially people who work in this, but it is just something to keep in mind, right? Because we all do have bias at the end of the day. Even if we're doing a really good job checking it, it sometimes slips out once in a while. So just keep a mind on that. Okay, so the key drivers of behavior change. Now, this one I'm actually citing a article published by Lynn Fredericks. She's a friend and colleague for quite a long time. She's done phenomenal research in this area. I almost always cite her stuff. Um, and she really took a look at what are the elements, what is the secret sauce, right? What are the elements in this culinary medicine intervention that drive that behavior change? Now, this does go into behavior change theories. She doesn't so much in this one article, but what's important is what she got out of that. And what she did is she identified these 6 drivers of behavior change, or 6 elements within a new culinary medicine program or experience that lead to the outcomes. And this to me was just groundbreaking stuff, because it's something I knew my whole career, and she was the person that studied it and proved it. And I just owe her so much for that. Um, we all do. So I want to share these here. Um, Overcoming challenges. That is a big one. So this is the curiosity versus criticism, right? We're faced with a challenge and we have to be brave enough to figure it out and get curious instead of shrinking from it and feeling like we don't know or we're too small, right? And these are the thoughts that your audience is going through, by the way, not just you. I mean, we might too, but what we're teaching them is how to overcome challenges by approaching it with curiosity, not criticism. Look at it from all angles. The next piece of this is peer support, the social environment, right? We had several folks on the chat earlier mention that community aspect of eating, right? Eating together, bringing people together around food. This is so big. It's the peer support, right? Part of the, I would say the inverse of us feeling self-conscious around things is um, wanting and needing validation and a sense of belonging and approval from others, right? That is also kind of an inherent part of being human. And that's what we get from the peer support. Not just praise from you, but praise and collaboration from their, well, collaboration is another one, from their peers, right? While they're doing this. So this is kind of social affirmation and validating these things. And then the next piece, kind of the natural segue of this is collaboration, which is constructive problem solving. Um, and this again is curiosity versus criticism, but it's having them look at a barrier and figure out what to do with that. So maybe I like to use this in the context of um, like recipe modification, perhaps, or they're encountering a new food and they don't know what to do with it, right? Uh, are they going to help each other or are they going to just sit there and watch while someone else flounders, right? Often they will step in and help each other. So they also learn to just bounce ideas off one another while they're each cooking their own little thing, right? That's important too, because again, that's an extension of that communal nature. And that's what we do too as humans, is we share our thoughts and ideas. And a lot of us honestly process by talking. I'm one of those people. So it is something I like to do as well. The next piece of this, one of my favorite pieces, is the celebration and success with three S's. Sorry, guys. Spelling is not my strength. Um, Celebration and success. We are creating positive association. So if you are learning how to ride a bike for the first time and you're doing good, and then you hit a hill and you forgot how the brakes work and you just crash and injure yourself and the bike's all messed up and your friends are all laughing at you. How likely are you to get back on that bike and do it again? Not very likely, especially if you're an adult. Okay. We don't like to fail. It's such an uncomfortable thing. And sometimes it's hard for us to learn from the failures, right? Especially in the moment. And often, depending on how and when this took place, we're not even supported by the people we're with in that time of failure, right? If our friends are laughing at us, they're not very supportive. They're not helping us. They're not checking on us. They're not encouraging us to try again, right? We all have different experiences in and around food, but a lot of people have negative experiences where they've tried something and failed, where they've tried something and received criticism. Even if it's not intended as criticism, families do this all the time. They will inadvertently criticize something or like, well, that's not as good as so and so's, or nice try, but I make the best, whatever, just low key things like that, right? It's just part of how family dynamics work, but those things still stay with us, right? And it might be creating, that's where the insecurity kind of comes from. And when we celebrate what people are making in these classes, these educational interventions, that is so powerful because now we're creating new positive associations with these same skills that maybe they had a previous negative one. And negatives are really hard to overcome, but it can happen. So if we can even get them to try something new for the first time and create a positive association with that, that is a huge confidence booster. Huge, huge. And we are starting to rewrite how they feel about themselves, right? And that's where that confidence comes from. Um, the fifth driver of behavior change here is palate development. This is another one of my favorites, and I will teach workshops just on this sometimes. And this, to me, is exploring all the senses, right? A lot of us, when we're talking about food and cooking, we think of taste and flavor, which is taste plus smell. But in reality, it's everything, right? We eat with our eyes first. All of us do. That's why commercials are a thing, right? And pictures of food are everywhere. Um, it's all of the senses, eyes, ears, nose, mouth, tactile as well, the texture of food, the sound of a crackle when something is crunchy or frying in the pan, stuff like that, right? So that palate development, and everybody's palate is individual. That's the other thing to keep in mind, right? Our palate is largely determined by what we're used to eating, and we can change it. Acquired taste is a real thing. Um, but a lot of people haven't given thought to their palate at all. They don't even really know what they like. So one of my favorite things to do if someone likes something or doesn't like someone in it is ask, why do you like it? Or what don't you like about it? Oh, I don't eat mushrooms. Why not? What don't you like about them? Right? 9 times out of 10, it's the texture. But I still go through the effort of asking, right? Because this is me helping them connect the dots of what they like and don't like. And then they'll become much better at making food choices for themselves and much more confident in those choices and making healthy plus tasty food choices, I will add, when they feel confident in their own palate and their own likes and dislikes, and they know why. They have a lot of conviction in those choices. So the palate development is very important. And again, not something everybody was able to do as a child, especially if you just ate what you were given, right? And you weren't allowed to argue or have much say in your food choices, right? Just eat what's in front of you, finish your plate, stuff like that. That leads to a lack of palate development. Because you're not ever encouraged to explore or express how you feel about the food. So, last but certainly not least is the skill building and reinforcement. So, while the behavioral component is the big piece of the pie here, the knowledge and skill building does have a role to play, right? We are here building and reinforcing skills like knife skills. That's a really common one that most people don't have. Most people learn how to hold a knife by watching someone else do it, usually incorrectly, right? And they just make it work, right? The sharp end goes towards the food and I push a little bit. Um, Most people will also use a cutting board, but not all of them do, right? We're coming from all different experiences here, and we learn a lot of our cooking skills just by imitating others, what we see on TV, what we see our parents or grandparents do while we're growing up. And it's part of our role too as an educator and facilitator to go in and show them one, the correct and safe way to do it, but also reinforce that skill. Give them lots of opportunity to practice and gently correct them, right? Again, this is a great time to I guess we are being critical, but constructively critical. Okay. Things like that. Yeah, just to help them build that safety, self-efficacy, confidence. So, a word on incorporating this multisensory teaching strategies. Um, and this is where I really get into the don't just educate, create that experience. We can really bank on all of the sensory input. I even like to play music during my classes. Okay. That is a huge food setter, guys. It really sets the ambiance. I'm a big fan of like Italian opera or like 1950s stuff that also has a nice vibe, swing music, just something kind of jovial or light in the background. Kind of pair it with, I like themes too. I like a good theme. So I'll often do themed classes and pick the music accordingly. Even if you don't want to get into it that much, just find a playlist that's nice sounding and have some background music. It relaxes people. It's a wonderful thing. Music relaxes us, right? So we're in this space, which a bunch of people we don't know, we're gonna have to make awkward small talk conversation, but there's music playing. So we don't have to fill the space. We don't. And when I say we, I mean the audience is thinking that. So it allows them to come out of their shell a little bit better because we don't have to work so hard to get them to a relaxed enough spot that they open up. Plan relevant and open-ended discussion questions. So kind of like I've been saying, ask for the information, right? Ask them why, ask them how, ask them what's in their way. Ask these questions. Invite them to share too. Sharing experiences experiences with things. Maybe they've cooked something a different way before, or they've used an appliance you haven't used. Like you can invite them to kind of, I mean, teach you in a way, right? People love to share too. And it makes them feel ownership over the entire experience and like they're giving back. We do like a give and take here as well. And incorporating all the senses, bringing participants into the moment. So this is more of a mindful awareness type practice. So reminding them to be very present in that cooking experience, right? Don't just focus on following the recipe and doing a good job. Allow yourself to have this experience too. That's why we practice mise en place. So everything is decided, it reduces the mental load, and we can just enjoy the process of cooking, enjoy that experience, pay attention to the smells, give them tasting spoons so they can taste things along the way, right? Allow them some liberty over how they season things or what spices and herbs they choose to use. Encourage them to just try them if they haven't tried one before. Just little things like that. It doesn't have to be all the whole 9 yards, but we want to build and generate these experiences. And that's really going to help with that palate development too. Smell, taste, texture, feel. And I say both internal and external environment, right? So this is again where that emotional component and preference comes in. So we have kind of these base sensory inputs, but people are getting different things, right? Somebody might like that smell, somebody else might not like that smell. So it may be, and very often it reminds them of something that isn't as positive. So again, just talk about it if something like that comes up, and it's one more way to connect with your audience. All right, last but not least, and this is kind of the culmination of everything, right? That context, the environment we're creating, plus all of those confidence builders. That is really the magic of culinary medicine. And what we want to do is make it memorable, right? That's what we remember, memorable things. Now, we're doing all of this so it is memorable. And what we're really doing by inviting, by sharing, by building confidence is we're tying it to our audience's emotions. That is actually it. All of this creates emotion in people, and we remember things so much better when there's an emotion attached to it, partly because we're more present in the activity. Okay. If we're not present, we're not going to feel very much about it. Like, how many things have we just gone through the motions on? We don't remember those things because we weren't emotionally present. So that's a big piece of it, just being present, but building on that emotional context. So account for the environment, make it relevant to your folks, provide that guidance. You know, you're the training wheels as they're riding this new bicycle, and cultivate that self-efficacy. What we're really doing is reducing that fear of failure and setting them up for the highest possible um, possibility of success here, right? We're providing them all the support they need. And that is the magic of creating this culinary medicine experience. All right. So I think for the first time in a little while, I'm actually on time. But take home message, people are not robots. Our food choices are not just a practical decision, but also an emotional one and largely influenced by our environment. Our experience of eating goes beyond just tasting. It's an engagement of all our senses and emotions. So at the end of the day, people remember how you make them feel. And I'm going to share one of my favoriteest quotes that's been with me since probably the beginning and shaped a lot of this perspective for me, is from the poet Maya Angelou. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. They really don't. And that's what we're after, that feeling. That is how you become memorable. And they take that experience with you and apply it in life. That's it. All right, now for our drawing, because everybody likes free stuff. We are at our second quarterly drawing here. I'm just gonna pop out of this for a second so I can grab our participant list here. So normally my assistant does this for me, but like I said, I'm flying solo today, so I just need to grab the attendance list of everybody here. I'm just gonna get your names here. And that way I can pop you in there and we can roll the dice, not roll the dice, but do the little whirligig thing. So just bear with me a moment here, and then we'll see the spinny wheel. Okay. Participants. Oh no, I don't know if I can access it. Oh no, maybe I can't do this while I'm on the call live. Well, that wasn't fun or exciting. Okay, I'm gonna do the spinny thing. Actually, maybe I can do it on my phone. Bear with me just a second, guys. I have Zoom on my phone too. Let me take just a second. Let's see. No, I don't think it's gonna let me. Okay. Dang it, Zoom. Okay, well, I will spin the thingy after we're done here today. I'm so sorry. I just want to give you all a fair shake, and I'll just send out a little email announcement um, about that. I apologize, but I am doing the drawing today. Normally, I pull the participant list, or my assistant does while I'm in the session. And we do this nice little spinny wheel thing to draw your name from a hat. Well, it's not a hat. It is literally a spinning wheel, but we will press on. We will press on for today. But you will be getting one person, lucky person, will be getting the complete recipe writing guide written by Rayanne Saracen. She is phenomenal, and this is truly comprehensive. So anything and everything you want to know about recipe writing is in this book. It is a masterpiece. And next month, the docket resets. So everyone in attendance from that point forward will also get an entry for the next drawing in February. Okay, so if you don't mind, I would appreciate it. Just share this with anybody who you think might benefit, colleagues, folks you bump into at conferences. Go ahead and add the December 16th call to your calendar. And if you want to, the December 11th Q&A action hour session. Last one, actually, both of them have been phenomenal so far. Our last one was really great. We had a lot of folks on, answered a lot of questions, and got through some good stuff there for folks. So I invite you to join us. And I will see you next month. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate you so much.